I got stopped by a lady cop. She got me thinking. What up, Cuzzo?
What up, Cuzzo?
Man, we back for another one.
Yes, indeed. Another fantabulous Friday, as they say. How you feeling?
Fantastic. See, that ain't it. Just supposed to get the budget right.
Man, you up in here perpetrating. The buttons are telling the truth while you out here speaking.
Yeah. There we go. Fantastic.
All right. I believe you now. I
What
believe you
about
now.
you? What about you? How you feel?
I'm good, man. Another day in the life. I'll just keep it moving, man. That's all I gotta say.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, sir. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so like I said, we back for another one. Man. So a lot has happened. Things have happened.
And as always, things will continue to happen on the daily.
Man, we had a mini clash, as you can see, in the title in the White House. It wasn't that, it was one of those. We were hoping to get a deal, so we could get some of those precious minerals that we had, so we could get some payback. But it went a little left. So let's see what we got here. And then actually, you know what? We also know that there's a economic boycott going on. So we definitely want to talk about that and see, what that entails. Did you hear anything about the boycott?
Something about today it was a blackout. They told me not to buy nothing, so I'm starving right now. I ain't ate lunch. I'm on a
Damn.
hunger strike. Everything.
Damn.
I'm about to be walking to work. If they don't hurry up.
You know what? I actually was gonna buy something yesterday, but I guess I got confused because I was like, I'm gonna save it for tomorrow and buy everything I need today.
There you go.
I'm sorry, I mean no disrespect, but let's see.
That's going against the grain right there.
Man, what I'm saying, somebody gonna be mad, but it's okay. They don't call me all kind of names, I'm sure.
He said, "I'm a man, Damon. I ain't a boy. I
Man,
can't cop nothing. Sorry."
man. Let's see. All right, so yeah, we got President Zelensky and President Trump, and actually JD Vance is there as well. But let's see. Let me stop talking. Let me just hit play.
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you are
Mr.
not
President,
strong,
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come to the Oval Office and make this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring.
So what do you think? You think we should I'll get a better video than that, or you think that one is cool?
Oh no. Let's see. Is there another video?
Let's see. I'm sure there's others out there because that's kind of like as they got into the conversation. Let's see. That's when all the stuff started to go left. I mean, here's the full video. I don't want to. No. Let me see. Okay. Yeah, most everybody are. Actually, we'll do that.
We had little negotiation spat, but Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to have President Zelensky of Ukraine. And we've been working very hard, very close. So we've actually known each other for a long time. We've been dealing with each other for a long time and very well. We had a little negotiation spat, but that worked out great. I think for both countries, I think for the world, actually, beyond both countries. And we have something that is a very fair deal. And we look forward to getting in and digging and working and getting some of the rare earth. But it means we're going to be inside, and it's a big commitment from the United States, and we appreciate working with you very much. And we will continue to do that. We have had some very good discussions with Russia. I spoke with President Putin, and we're going to try and bring this to a close. It's something that you want and that he wants. We'll have to negotiate a deal, but we've started the confines of a deal, and I think something can happen. The big thing is the number of soldiers, mostly at this point, but soldiers being killed. You're losing thousands of soldiers. So on both sides, we're losing a lot of soldiers, and we want to see it stop. And we want to see the money get put to different kinds of use, like rebuilding. And we're going to be working very hard. But we've had a lot of very good conversations. I will say until we came along, the Biden administration didn't speak to Russia whatsoever. They didn't speak to anybody. They just allowed this to continue. And I will say that, I'll say in front of you, you've heard me say it 1,000 times. If I were president, this war would have never happened. We would have had a deal negotiated for you without having to go through what you've gone through. But your soldiers have been unbelievably brave. We've given them great equipment, but somebody has to use the equipment. They've been unbelievably brave. And we give them great credit. This was supposed to be over very quick.
Okay, so that's part of, what actually went down. So this is actually the full 50-minute conversation that they have. But then, as we kind of know that, some other stuff popped off, and I'll just play kind of like maybe like the other video that I had, and then that way could kind of give us some insight on the middle of the conversation. Actually, I have a few different takes on this. All right.
The exchange of money, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you are
Mr.
not
President,
strong,
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come to the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this
have
conflict.
you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
We have problems.
And do you think that it's respectful
I will answer.
to come to the Oval Office of the United
answer.
States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't know
God
that.
bless. You will not have the war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on
position
this
to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly
this.
what
I'm not
You're in
dictating.
no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
You
We're
will-
going to feel very
You will
good.
feel influence.
We're going to feel very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed
From the
yourself
very-
to be in a
from
very
the very
bad position,
beginning
and he
of the
happens
war.
to be right
From
about
the
it.
very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a good
Braha,
position.
I
You don't
was
have
in-
the cards right now. With us, you start
I'm
having
not playing
cards. But
cards.
right now, you
I'm
don't. Yeah,
very
you're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War
What do you-
III.
what do you
You're
think about?
gambling with
What do you
World
think
War
about?
III. And
You-
what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country.
I'm
That's
with
back
all
to you.
respect to your
Far
country.
more than a lot of people said
I'm wearing
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once?
A lot of
All right, I'll stop it right there. So I'll let you shoot first, man. See what what you think. Make sure you unmute.
Yeah, just listening to the initial conversation, from the first video to this video, it seems like Trump is doing, his Norman talking points, as you should be, setting the stage for, how this is going to go, how do we want it to go, and in order for things to move forward and be prosperous, for both sides, these are the ways that we're looking for things to move forward. Now, the vice president, JD Vance, he definitely seems like he's playing the bully. You ever seen one of those movies we call cop movies where they play good cop, bad cop?
Yeah.
Yeah, so JD Vance is playing the bad cop and Trump is playing the good cop. That's what it seems like for me from first standpoint. And he's literally just looking to, I don't say embarrass, but kind of bully Zelensky, I mean, not Zelensky, but it's Zelensky, yeah. So bully him and, in terms of maybe kind of a little bit of humiliation because this is being televised in front of the American people. So I think they're doing a tour for this in terms of, kind of swaying more people in terms of the ideas of how things are going to go and move forward in terms of peace talks. And, whatever, kind of deal they make, it's going to benefit, I'm pretty sure, the American people more. Up until this point, we understand and know that, they've received a lot of money from the United States. We've had conversations about that already. And, a lot of ways we kind of feel like it was wasteful. But from their perspective and my understanding, like he said in there, we have never been to Ukraine, so we don't know actually what's going on. But we do see the stories and we hear the stories and we follow things, and then we understand that what's happening and what's going on, long term can't be great for, one side or the other, because, you're going to continue to lose resources, lose people. And thus, our money may never be recovered because at the end result, it may not end well, for our particular side. So just looking at the conversation, it is a little bit theatrical. I've never seen a sit down talks, with this type of energy in terms of frustration and kind of, I wouldn't say condescending tones from American people, which is represented by Trump and JD Vance. But, I will say Zelensky definitely wants to uphold his image, in front of the American people. He wants to uphold his image in terms of, his homeland and his people. So he does not want to feel like he's being bullied, I say, or he does not want to be made feel like he's being given something in such a way that he has to, kind of bow his head, to, Donald Trump and, JD Vance, because, months before it was, the other guy, the better man, it was the other president.
Blank check.
Yeah, blank check. Walk off into the distance, go to take a nap. And then it was also, my collard greens in the tub, hot sauce sister, So, it was much more easier to, I wouldn't say manipulate, but actually get what you wanted, out of that administration. So now you have to have or answer some tougher questions. Now you don't have the road as easy to get to funding or receiving money to do whatever you want to do with it, or whatever you say you're going to do with it, fight a war. I don't know, build a mansion. I don't know. But, just looking at preliminary, yeah, all that stuff it's out. It's not happening anymore. So there may be some frustration with that initially. As Trump said, he's known him a long time, but in terms of the relationship, we don't know. But yeah, it remains to be seen. I'm interested to see, what happens moving forward in terms of this conversation and what this situation.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It definitely took a turn. You know what I mean? I'm sure when, Trump sat down, I'm sure when Trump made this appointment, he didn't plan for it to go left like this. He planned for it to be, easy deal, easy conversation, and I don't know if you remember when you were a kid when your mom was like, whatever goes in this house stays in this house, type of thing. You know, there that's kind of where that went. Like some of the stuff that they had talked about, or some of the stuff that they needed to talk about behind closed doors. I feel like, I'm sorry, I think that they kind of got heated and some of that information got out. Because I don't think that, whoever started it, I don't think that type of conversation should have been had, in front of the people, because we see what happened. Like, people gonna post it. It's gonna go viral. It's gonna be on all platforms. People gonna clip it up. People gonna spin it the way they want it to be spun. And I think that's why JD kind of stepped in. That's just my opinion. And kind of said what he said, and kind of said it with a certain tone, because this type of conversation, we could sit down and talk about it behind closed doors. Any disagreements, we just kind of want to do, the basic, stuff. The American people see that we're meeting, we're gonna have a good conversation, and that's it. We don't have to talk about the in-depth stuff that we could talk about behind closed doors. And I think that's kind of, what happened. And the other thing too is you say, you were talking about, how it was easy to get funds. You know, I think Trump's main point is to stop, or to stop a war, a potential war from starting right here. Us having to, come to their defense more than we have been, you know, and also to stop the war there. There have been countless people that, Ukrainians that have died, countless, Russians that have died. And I know sometimes ego could get into play, like, what, they got the best of me. I don't want to give up this war or quit, because they took this or they did that, but what expense? Like, how long can this go on? You know, there's already been so many people that lost their lives, so many, families, devastated, over there. I haven't been over there either. I kind of just get the news, like, or the reports like everybody else does. But you could imagine, like, this war has been going on for years already, and numerous people have died. They actually, I don't know if you heard this, but a while ago, actually saw these ladies on Fresh and Fit, but there was a one or two Ukrainian women that said that they were able to leave Ukraine, and they had husbands and boyfriends and stuff like that over there. They had to fight in the war. So your wife, girlfriend is leaving the country, and then you have to fight in this war. And they come over here, they getting buzzed down if they look halfway decent. You know what I'm saying? Hey, hey, you're gonna come back and you're gonna have some black Ukrainian babies pop up. But anyway, like it went way left. And unfortunately, people are gonna have their opinion. But again, I think, the goal of Trump is to again stop the war over there. I kind of watched a little more of it, and he was talking about, how the people, are, you know what? I'll hold that thought because I want everybody to see it because it could be, taken a certain way. But I definitely agree that, something needs to be done. It's definitely gone on far too long. And again, I kind of, maybe I'm biased, but I kind of side with, America, like we've been supporting you, for the longest, upwards of $300 billion. And if we hadn't have come in to save you, then this war probably would have been over a long time ago. And, I don't know any Ukrainian people. I don't know any Russian people that I know of, but I'm basing it off the movies. You know what I'm saying? I know sometimes, people in different cultures have egos, and they don't want to give up, because they're losing. They're gonna go down with the ship. But at what expense? And I just think it was crazy. It was disrespectful, in my opinion. I did feel that, Trump and JD Vance probably could have like just shut it down and and just said we could discuss this, like we say at work offline. You know what I mean? Not in front of the people, because it did look bad on both ends, and you already know how some of these people are going to spin this thing, right? They're already doing it. They're already, saying, "Oh, JD Vance and Trump are disgusting," and blah blah blah. They disrespected him. I'm just like, you didn't watch the whole thing, and you didn't realize that our money, our tax dollars, are going to this war that's been going on for forever. Where do you think they're getting the money from? Like that, I think. Well, I don't want to say that either, but it's speculation. But I'm sure other funding that could go other places is going to this war, and I just think it's ridiculous. But you know what I did? I did have. I don't know if you saw this, but his ambassador is in the. Oh, I'm sorry, the ambassador. Let me see. The ambassador. Oh, okay. Ukraine's ambassador to the U.S.
I want to see I want to
You
see
see that?
because you get a ceasefire faster
You can
than
hear it.
agreement.
Huh? You can hear it. All right. Let's see. Let me put it up so everybody can see it. All right.
I want to see
That's
I want to
Ukraine's
see because
ambassador
you get a
to the
ceasefire faster
U.S.
than an agreement. Ask our people about ceasefire. What I want to see
Like, what do you think she's thinking?
She's probably like, "Oh my God, what are you doing? Oh no, this is not good." Zenny, what are you doing? This is not what we talked about. This is not how we practiced it. This is totally different.
100%. I just, yeah, didn't go how we planned it. Like, where's the teleprompter? Like, somebody get the teleprompter. Hurry up.
Go to commercial. Go to commercial.
Hey, I was watching Anchorman the other day. You know what I'm saying? Who changed that on the teleprompter? Ron reads everything that's on there. Hey, yeah, it's bad, man. It's hopefully, and then I actually heard, I'm sorry, that he got kicked, that he kicked him out, of the White House because of this whole thing that went down. So hopefully things get resolved, and you know, we can move forward and end this thing, man. All these people that are dying and stuff like that, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Oh, you know what? I got one. Oh, look at who it is.
Взгляды, прячем свои лица.
Yeah. You know what that is?
Через
Yes.
свою большую ПО.
Yeah, that's your boy, man. That's your boy up there, you know, in his former days.
Right. That don't look like that was that long ago. The Ukrainian president. But anyway, man. Next we got, let's see. Oh, you know what? I got one more thing. I'm sorry. We're not gonna move on yet. One other thing. I just want to hear a different perspective of somebody that knew Zelensky.
Positive is met
let's
with
see.
Zelensky this
This is Senator Lindsey Graham. I believe that's his name.
morning.
Can you hear that? Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. So he basically said he met with Zelensky and had kind of like a brief conversation with him. And
Met
here we
with
go.
Zelensky this morning. I urged him to stay on message, be grateful, be thankful. We'll talk about details of security guarantees later. Keep it upbeat, keep it positive. It was absolute, utter disaster. The question for me is he redeemable in the eyes of Americans? Most Americans witnessing what they saw today would not want Zelensky to be their business partner, including me. And I've been to Ukraine 9 times since the war started. I met with him this morning. President Trump, I talked to last night, he was upbeat about the deal. I've never been more proud of President Trump for showing the American people in the world, you don't trifle with this man. He was very positive. He was very upbeat. He wanted to get a ceasefire. He wants to end the war. And Zelensky felt like he needed to debate Trump in the Oval Office. JD was awesome. Met with Zelensky this morning. I urged him to stay on message.
Yeah. So that's just another perspective. You know, he did ask JD Vance, you know, had he been to Ukraine, you know, him being Zelensky. And, you know, obviously JD Vance had not been to Ukraine, but you had one of the Republican representatives there. He's actually the senator of South Carolina, and he's been there multiple times, and he, you know, pretty much has a relationship with Zelensky. And so I just think it went left. You know, he told him not to share, you know, not to, you know, that's like even more of a slap in the face. Like he had a conversation, like, don't discuss some of these things out in public, and he just outright, you know, did it anyway. You know, and I just think that was his intentions, and it's kind of like, why would you do that to us? We're not the ones who, you know, allowed this to continually happen. You know, did Biden have any conversations with Zelensky? With the Russian president? We don't. I didn't hear anything about it. But I mean, that doesn't mean that it didn't happen. But Trump has actually tried to reach out, you know, to them, to reach out to, you know, Ukraine and like stop this thing, you know. Countless lives, again, you know, I can't reiterate that enough, but countless lives, you know, are being lost. And actually, you know, there have been, you know, reports that, you know, a lot of other stuff like malicious stuff is going on in the world outside of, you know, of course, death, but, you know, stuff happening to women and children, you know, on both sides, it shouldn't be happening. You know, and this is all because of this long drawn out war. You know, we need to cut, you know, I mean, I like it if we cut ties with them low key, you know, and just, you know, let it, whatever happens happen. But, you know, we have to, you know, do our, you know, our duty, you know, as big brother, you know, and help a lot of these places out. So Um, that's pretty much it, man. Well, what I want to share on that. I don't know if you had any input. If not, cool. We can move on to the next thing. Yeah.
Yeah, we can keep it moving. I don't have nothing on that one. You said everything that needed to be said.
You want to bring in the next
Yeah.
topic?
Is that our not DEI, but our boycott? We got a video on that. I know we talked about today's a big and special day, and yeah, it's been tough for me because I haven't been able to get too much today because of the whole blackout thing. I don't know about everybody else out there, but let's check this video out, man, to see what we're all supposed to be doing here.
I need some gas, man.
I need an electric car right now.
People online are calling for a massive protest and calling it an economic blackout by not shopping at these big companies that have been rolling back their DEI programs. This woman who works at the local Walmart took a video of what the store currently looks like, and it is completely empty. Now, this is only supposed to last 24 hours, but many people are trying to protest against corporate and political influence over workers' lives, and this is what it looks like in Louisiana. People online are calling for a massive protest.
So what you think?
The thing about protests, man, we go back to, our so-called civil rights era. It was supposed to be done for a particular reason, and other things, essentially happen because of it. So essentially, what a boycott is supposed to do is, help us to, I guess, use our dollars in a sense to where people will start to notice. Most of the time, people will say that, the 1% or the banks or the economy won't notice, anything until you actually, try to tap into, the money or affect their bottom line or their pockets, but doing it for one day, I don't think, that's the right way to go about it. That's just my opinion. I think there's other ways and other things that we should be doing to kind of affect change in a more effective way. And that could be a number of ways. It could be group economics. It could be, group dynamics, in terms of, a particular, field or, niche or industry that we feel like we are not represented in, that we want to actually start tapping into, things of that nature. So doing it, this is just old ways of doing things. I don't think it's going to be anything really to come of it. There'll be different stories around the country about it. People can say, oh, well, this and that. People have lost money because of what we've been doing. Yeah, that's only temporary. What's going to happen, continuously down the line that's going to be effective to where we can start to put our energy and our thought processes together, to make a more lasting and effective change in terms of, what we truly want, out of this economy by putting things together and in place.
100%. I am confused by this, to say the least. So what I've been hearing or what I've heard is, you know what, go out there and, buy everything you need, on Thursday or Wednesday, so you won't need it on Friday. Because we're gonna show these people, how our money is going, affect them or whatever, right? You know what? You done seen Target. Target has already been down, so many percent. People don't understand how this money game works, you know. Like they look at the stock market and see it's down. It's like it could be a number of issues. I'm sorry, a number of reasons why the stock is down. Stocks go up and down all the time, and because you don't pay attention to them, you think by chance you not shopping at Target, for a week or two is gonna make a difference. Um, I and then if you look at, I'm going to front load my spending on Wednesday, Thursday, so I don't spend on Friday. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, guess what? You just put a surge in the economy or the spending on Wednesday, Thursday. You know what I mean? And I mean, and I'm sure that everybody's not gonna be involved in this. I mean, it may not be people in this particular, Walmart, but that Walmart probably was dead like that anyway. I don't know. I could be wrong, but it was probably, slow anyway. Y'all probably on the verge of closing soon because y'all don't get much business there anyway. But it's crazy that our people, we do stuff because of lack of knowledge. We don't know how to put our resources together. That's one of the things that we need to do. That's what a lot of people do. Uh, shout out to them, no disrespect, but we know how it was. We had the Latino family, that stayed, it was like 10 of them in the house together. They say they bred and help the others, and they say they bred and help the others. You know what I mean? Like we are too proud to do certain things that it takes to get, to a level like that, right? And I'm not saying that got them to a certain place, but that's certain things that they do. We don't want to work together. We don't want to put our minds together. Hey, I'm gonna be 100%. Like, I have to be careful on who, you have to be careful on who you trust, with your funds. People that look like us because they, Black Lives Matter. They tried to, push that whole narrative, right? And what do? Buy cars and mansions and all kind of stuff. And people was gung ho, for Black Lives Matter. And nobody's talking about, they may have been talking about, I could be wrong, but I don't hear an uproar, on, you know, people getting duped for donating all this money to Black Lives Matter. And this is just another, one of those other things, that we're just jumping into, and we don't have any, insight. I asked a few people. I'm not gonna say no names to protect the innocent. You know what I'm saying? But I'm like, why are you boycotting? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, why are you boycotting? Oh, I don't want to talk about it. You don't know why you boycotting. That's why you don't want to talk about it. It just doesn't make sense. Like you said, we could take a step back, or adding to what you said, we could take a step back and then see which direction we could go in, or what can we plan to grow, not just not our economy, but people bring up Black Wall Street all the time. Like, can we get back to that? I doubt it. But can we move in a better direction, or can we get to where things are better, for people to look like us? Yeah, we can. But people are just jumping in and doing crazy stuff, boycotting, these places. Are you using your cell phone? Are you driving to your white job? You know what I'm saying? The job, that got rid of DEI. Are you still working? You know what? Don't take no sick time. Don't take no vacation today. You know what? Just say you're gonna eat that time, that 8 hours. Just say, I don't want it. You're not gonna do none of that. Like where does it stop? Like don't just do it halfway, do it all the way. You know what? When that bill comes, for your credit card, are you gonna pay that bill, or are you gonna let the overdraft, happen? You know what I'm saying? Like, if are you gonna pay your college tuition of that white school you went to, because you not, you today you're boycotting spending. I mean, we have to be realistic, man. We have to sit down, start having conversations. If that's something that you guys want to do, and figure out how to really go about this, because the way boycotting a day, like even boycotting a week, like these places, Amazon and all these other places, though, that's not gonna. I mean, they may see a little dip, but this is not gonna affect them, bro. So I don't know. I know I start rambling, but yeah, hop in there. Just hop in if you rambling.
No, you good, cuzzo, man. You was cooking, man. So I don't want to get burned, man. When people making something, man, I try to step back, and allow them to continue to cook. But I mean, I just see these things as recycled movements, as recycled things we've already done, inside our community. We've already did the boycotted thing, as I said before. We've already done, the civil rights movement, and every time you look in history, it never gets done, or it never looks like you thought it would look, because there's always somebody involved that kind of manipulates and steals, from the movement, and it's the same thing that happened, recently with Black Lives Matter, so for this time, people want to be a part of change, but they do it in such a way that, like you said before, it really doesn't make any sense. It's not going to make any, dent financially, so we continue to do things in such a way that doesn't really, hold any weight at the end of the day. People are going to look back at this moment in time and not even remember, we're not buying anything. Because we've done this a couple of times before, throughout the last 4 or 5 years. I remember people saying there's a blackout, for this person or that person, we're not buying nothing. And what truly happens is people really only care about themselves. They don't truly care about anybody else, and they can say things because it sounds good, it feels good, but at the end of the day, if it affects their livelihood, if it affects their safety, if it affects, their money, their job, then yeah, they're not about to do much of anything but just talk and say whatever they want to say online. But that's just going to be what it is. They just talking and saying and reacting to, what feels good, versus what needs to be done or said for things to happen, for a change really to take hold or take place. So, and I know, like we talked about many times before, we can start locally by doing things, from a small step that's going to allow us to get involved, to start to make changes by implementing some of our ideals in terms of what we see and what we want to see differently, by having these conversations, just like this podcast, by just having these conversations and coming across differences, based on talking points we've heard, you ask people, okay, so you boycotting, why you boycotting? Or what are you doing to boycott? Why are you doing that? Or I don't know, so if you don't know, that's okay. But then you got to start being honest with yourself in terms of, okay, if you don't know, then how are you boycotting, or what are you boycotting? You're doing it because someone else says do it, and that means they're a follower, and that's okay. We're all followers in our own way, in our own right. But if you want to actually see change has to start with you. So you got to figure out, what do you need to change in terms of yourself in order to see change in the world. It always starts with you. You don't have to do anything extravagant, but just change that. So That's my spiel on it.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we know how it's been, man. Somebody starts something, and if it sounds good, we all, you know, a lot of us like to jump on it. And I think this is one of those things because, that nobody wants to, give insight onto why, why this time. What is it gonna affect? What is it gonna change? What is it gonna what is it going to um what is it gonna do? Straight up. And I just think that we need to, stop being followers. I mean, I know we all have to follow someone, but just stop getting yourself involved in, everything. Take a step back, try to get understanding. If somebody, be able to defend it. I don't know how I get, down the biblical route, you know, but there's a passage that talks about defending the word of truth, like study yourself to show approve, so you can be able to, defend, what you believe in, and I'm not necessarily saying fight for this, but if somebody has a question, like maybe you could be, you know, a person that pulls somebody in, for the right reasons and to a great cause. But if you don't know why you're doing it and you're just doing it just because, then it doesn't make sense, man. It don't make sense at all. And you know what they say, what I'm saying? It don't make dollars. It don't make sense. So I'm passing on it. Man, I don't know. You know what? What's crazy is my job has a gas station. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna wait till I get to work, to get some gas. And why was that thing closed? And I was like, man, is my job? Are they involved in this boycott? You know what I'm saying? They don't want a brother to get gas. So hopefully I'll make it to the gas station and I'm able to get some gas, man, because I'm looking on it's looking close to the E. And I know that's bad on my part. I'm a grown man. But yeah, it's not looking good at all. It's looking real tragic. I might need some help pushing, cuzzo. Can you help me, man? My car not that big. But anyway, man. So that's it about that, man. Actually, you know what? I did want to say something else. So I was talking to my nephew, because he kind of, follows what, kind of like his mom, says or does, which, is understanding, but he's older, he's, a young man. And so, I just told him, like straight up, like, don't just follow people, try to understand for yourself. And I said if you look into DEI, like if you just Google search it right now, who benefited from DEI? Which group of people benefited more from DEI? I know when I searched it, it said that white women benefited more, and so that means that the other groups of people that were more qualified, from a general sense, and we speak in generalities, right? Because it's not in all cases, but from a general sense, that more white women benefited from it than anybody else. And so is that really what you're fighting for? And are you too stubborn, are too close-minded not to take a step back and do the research yourself and find out for yourself. One of those things, what are you really fighting for? And so, you know, I guess that's it, man. I don't have anything else, man. Other than, you know, in all things get understanding. Make sure that, you know, you're not just following folk. Make sure that you're, you know, trying to figure it out for yourself. Here I go getting biblical again, you know, but when, you know, the preacher gets up there, or the representative for Christ gets up there and they give you word, you know, it sometimes it sounds good, you know, and you know, they get you because that's part of a speaker, right? Part of a speaker wants to get you emotionally involved and get you that's one of the ways, but get you draw you in to what's being spoken about. And so sometimes that happens and you get too drawn in and it feels good, but there's no substance, there's no depth, sometimes there's some things that are not quite true. And so it's important that we get what's true, you know, for ourselves. So sometimes you have to go back and revisit that thing and make sure that what was said was true. And so yeah, so just like that in their daily life, like this boycott, make sure that you're getting understanding and you get what is true and the background of what this thing is, and DEI. Google it for yourself. Just like I told my nephew, Google it for yourself and see who DEI benefited or benefits more. You know, who does it benefit more? I got white women. And if you guys are fighting for the white women, shout out to you. I don't have nothing against white women. I like white women too. I like me a Becky. You know what I'm saying? I don't know about Karen's too much, but you know, yeah. I don't know if you have any words you want to close out with, Cuzzo. I was just kind of giving my thoughts because I know you was actively working over there.
Yeah, not much to say to follow that, man. That's how I would end it, man. And all things get understanding. And I think, you know, that just goes back to our upbringing. You know, a lot of us were raised to, you know, not really question, you know, authority, you know, through schools or through church, you know, through family upbringing. So, you know, a lot of time as young men and women growing up, you know, and I know for me, this was true for a long time. You always want to, you know, make your mom and your dad proud, and you know, you would like to agree with them. It's open. Yeah, you would like to agree with them in terms of, you know, your perspective and your mindset on certain issues. But, you know, from going to a boy to a young man to a man, you know, you want to be able to, you know, self-develop your own thought process and your mindset in terms of, you know, your perspective, you know, and based on, you know, world perceptions. And that's just coming through your own, you know, trials and tribulations, your own personal study, and then just seeing, you know, how the world has operated, you know, for, you know, the past, you know, whatever years since you've been born, and even going back before you were born. You know, you definitely want to kind of do your own self study to kind of understand, you know, where we were, you know, where we came from to where we are now. So just having those conversations, you know, is definitely beneficial, and that's very it's a lot of wealth in that, because a lot of young men don't have that, and maybe some of those guys or young men that do have that would take it for granted in a way, because they don't have, you know, that understanding. from that perspective. So yeah, man, I definitely agree with you. You know, in terms of everything that we have happening, you know, I would just implore people to continue to, you know, seek knowledge for yourself and, you know, work on being an individual that's open and honest about where you are and where you want to go so that you can create, you know, kind of the world you really want to see and not through anyone else's ideology. But we always talk about fairness. You know, fairness has nothing to do with DEI, although they will make you seem that way, but it truly doesn't, you know, as it's put together. Because anything that's fair, you know, you don't really have to unpack and read through, you know, thousands and thousands of pages of anything. You know, it can just be there in black and white, simple and plain for anybody to see or read. So that's what it comes down to. So anyway, that's my spiel. I appreciate you, you know, allowing me to, you know, set the platform here and the foundation that we're building. And man, continue to tune in, man, and check us out because we're always conversing about some interesting topics, and we look for more people to engage with us and, you know, leave a message and, you know, leave your own thoughts in the comments, whether you agree or not agree. We always like to have, you know, positive banter, something that builds, you know, on the thought processes of what we talk about, because there may be some things that we're not looking at it, different angles that, you know, people have with different thought processes other people have. So I know we definitely enjoy that, you know, so yeah, appreciate you, Cuzzo.
Absolutely, man. So, man, we appreciate our future viewers. If you watch this video, man, we appreciate you for watching it. Tune in to the next show. Also, please like, comment, and subscribe. Help us out. We are just two regular dudes, man, giving our opinions on our experiences and whatnot, man. We love you, appreciate you. Peace. What up, y'all?